I never thought betrayal would wear the face of someone I once kissed goodnight. My name is Clara, and this is the story of how my world fell apart, and how, through the ashes, I found the strength to rise. Love, pain, and redemption aren't just words. They are wounds, scars, and the warmth that returns after the storm. It began 5 years ago when I married Daniel. I believed he was my soulmate. We had met during our final year of university. He was the charming, confident literature major who read poetry under his breath, while I was the practical psychology student who thought too much. We balanced each other. Or so I thought. Our early years were filled with laughter, late-night dinners, spontaneous road trips, and whispered promises under the moonlight. I remember the first time he told me he loved me under the old oak tree near campus. I had been ranting about a terrible exam, and he just looked at me with this quiet certainty and said, "I love you, Clara, even when you're a storm." It felt like magic. But magic, I would learn, sometimes comes with illusions. After we got married, we moved into a cozy townhouse on Maple Street. I started working as a therapist at a local clinic, while Daniel became a high school English teacher. On the outside, everything looked perfect. But over time, the little things began to change. Daniel started coming home later than usual. He'd tell me about extra tutoring sessions or late meetings. His phone, once carelessly left on the kitchen counter, was now always locked. I tried not to overthink. I was trained to understand human behavior, to give space, to not jump to conclusions. But I was also a wife with intuition. And something in my heart whispered, "He's slipping away." Still, I clung to the hope that it was just stress, or perhaps a phase. Until one night, everything unraveled. It was a Thursday. I remember because I had bought wine and cooked his favorite pasta, something we hadn't shared in months. He walked in, distracted, muttered a greeting, and went straight to the shower. I don't know what prompted me to check his phone that night. Maybe it was the way he flinched when I hugged him, or the unfamiliar perfume that wasn't mine. My hands trembled as I guessed his new password, our anniversary date. It still worked. The messages were there. Her name was Lauren, a coworker. The thread was filled with "I miss yous," late-night confessions, photos, plans. My heart didn't just break. It disintegrated. I stared at the screen, numb, for what felt like hours. I couldn't cry. Not yet. I couldn't cry. Not yet. When he came out of the shower, I looked at him and asked one question. "How long?" He froze. His eyes widened, and I saw fear, a rare sight in the man who always seemed composed. "Clara," he said, "it's not what you think." But I had already read it all. Every message. Every lie. Every stolen moment. That night was a blur of shouting, crying, and silence. He admitted it had been going on for over a year. He swore it meant nothing, that he still loved me, that it was a mistake. But love isn't a lifeline when trust is dead. I asked him to leave. And just like that, my marriage ended. Not with a dramatic fight, but with a quiet, suffocating grief. The days that followed were the darkest of my life. I stopped going to work. I stopped eating. I watched the world move while I sat frozen in time. Friends checked in, but I didn't answer. I didn't know how to explain that I wasn't just mourning a man. I was mourning the version of myself who believed in forever. I had built my life around Daniel, and now that foundation was rubble. One morning, I found myself standing in front of the mirror, unrecognizable. Hollow eyes, tangled hair, lifeless skin. I whispered to myself, "This isn't the end. You're still here." It wasn't a dramatic revelation, just a quiet decision to breathe, to survive. I began going for walks. I returned to work slowly. I spoke to a therapist. Yes, even therapists need help. And slowly, I began to heal. Healing isn't linear. Some days I felt strong. Others I wept uncontrollably. But I kept going. I journaled, poured my soul into the pages. I volunteered at a women's shelter, wanting to give strength where I had once lost mine. I reconnected with old friends, laughed again, danced again. And then, 1 year later, I saw Daniel again. It was at the grocery store of all places. He looked older, sadder. He approached me, nervously. "Clara," he said softly, "you look happy." I nodded. "I am." He apologized again. Told me Lauren had left. That he regretted everything. That he thought about me every day. And for the first time, I looked at him and felt nothing. Not hate. Not love. Just peace.